This is my non-spoiler review of The Nun Part 2. So, in the movie canon, we have our rating system: see it, stream it, or skip it. So that's what I've been using for a while. So that's what I'm going to use here too. Like always, we do the positives, the negatives, the positive components, positive elements of each movie. That's why I like to break it down here. And the first movie came out in 2018, and I did not like it. It's part of the Conjuring universe, and it stars the sister of Vera Farmiga, Taissa Farmiga. So she's the younger sister of Vera Farmiga, who's in The Conjuring. Okay, so there you go. So they have a nice little image there of the nun. So if you're afraid of the nun, you may not want to be watching this right now. But okay, so I'm just gonna go into right away. Like I said, there's more negatives. There's more negatives than positives. But one of the main things here is the performances here. Sometimes in horror movies, the performances are not that strong. They're not that great. I think I see that happen a lot, actually. But the performances here are actually good. The main cast did a great job in the portrayal of their characters. Even though the story itself and the script is actually very weak. So I'll say that. Another positive thing for The Nun Part 2 is there is one, and I think is just one shot that I found creepy. It only lasted for like a few seconds. It's a non-spoiler review, so I don't want to get into it, obviously, because that would be spoilery. There is one scene that I didn't find creepy or scary, but I thought was pretty cool. Okay, so this is the one that I'm talking about here. So this particular scene, and you've seen it in the trailer, so if you've seen the trailer, I didn't find this creepy or scary, but I did think it was pretty cool. The way that it was shot, the style of it, I thought it was a pretty cool scene. That this is with the magazines. Again, also a rather short moment of the film. Not scary, not creepy, but I thought it was cool. So I'll give it a positive thing. Also, the look of the nun. So let me go back to the nun again here. Let me see, where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay, so the look of the nun. I mean, she's always been creepy. They introduced her. I think she was introduced in Conjuring 2. And I mean, she always been creepy looking. So the look of her is always good. So they didn't change that. So again, it's a positive thing. But when I get into the negatives for this movie, and going back to even the first one, when it comes to the backstory of the nun, it's pretty lame. Considering that the nun itself, she looks pretty creepy, she looks cool and everything, especially all these horror fans, but her backstory sucks. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into the negatives. So the negatives of The Nun Part 2. So there you go. The story is basic as fuck. I found it a bit boring. It was not scary, as I mentioned a few times. There's a scene in the beginning of this movie that I found pretty hilarious. And of course it wasn't intentional. So while it's a negative thing, I guess I can give it a Tommy Wiseau praise, but it's still a negative. So when you see the movie, or if you've already seen it, there's a scene at the beginning of the movie that I found hilarious. I don't know if you'll find it hilarious, but I did. But maybe if you watch it later, and then maybe you'll find it too. I don't know, but I thought it was funny. But I mean, it's a positive because it's entertaining to me, but it's actually not a positive thing. It's a negative thing for the movie. The other thing is, okay, the nun's abilities, right? So the nun's abilities, they're kind of confusing because it's like she's a demon and everything. It's things that has been established even from The Conjuring 2. Her abilities, I don't know, like, how much power does she have? Like, what can she do? Because it's like all of a sudden she can do all these things. And again, I don't want to get into spoilers or anything, but she does these things that I don't think she's done before. And it's like, well, why isn't she like taking over the world already, basically? If she's has all these powers or whatever, her abilities. So that stuff is kind of confusing. And then also the the motivations. So again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the motivations of the nun, it's like we don't need those kind of motivations for a horror character like this. That'll be probably a motivation for, I don't know, like a human being, you know. Of course there's more to it, you know, there's more things about the motivations of the nun in this particular movie. So I just thought it was kind of weak and kind of lame, basic, generic. I just wasn't really into this movie. So that's a negative thing there. Okay, so now let's get into the I think that's pretty much it. I think I gave you guys all my positives and all my negatives for The Nun Part 2. And again, this is part of the Conjuring universe. Now I really do like the Conjuring movies. The first one, I liked the second one. Third one was okay. Then obviously these Nun movies. The first Nun movie really sucked. This one sucked. Annabelle, the Annabelle movies are also part of the Conjuring universe. The first one sucked, in my opinion. The second one, which is really a prequel, that was much better. And then the third one, I think it's called Annabelle Comes Home. I believe that was the name of that one. That one was good. I liked it enough, but still the best one is the prequel, the second one. And then we have La Llorona. They decided to include La Llorona as part of the Conjuring universe for whatever reason. That movie was terrible. So not a good track record when it comes to these spin-off movies from The Conjuring. If you do watch this movie, there is a mid-credit scene, so stick around for that. There's a mid-credit scene. I don't think there's a post-credit scene. I didn't stick around for that. I don't think there is, though. Just so you guys know about that. Okay, so now going into the rating system again. So you have to see it, stream it, or skip it. So again, I see it as a movie that you should see in theaters. Stream it, self-explanatory. Or there's also skip it. So this is what The Nun Part 2 is. It's a skip it. It's a skip it, grade C-. Now, why is it a C- and not like an F or anything? Because they were a couple things that were entertaining. Like I mentioned, this shot right here, this image that you see right here, that scene was cool. It was very short, very brief. I found it to be creative, interesting. So I liked it. And then there's that one shot that I did find a bit creepy, but it was like seconds long. The acting, that was good, but overall, not a good movie. So I'll say it's a C-. Skip it.